Welcome to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
How would you describe or how would you talk through the current state of the country? I mean, it seems like our news, it's hard to I just feel like it's hard to know who to trust with news. We have this polarity, we have what seems like an attack on free speech, we have this racial divide, there's all these questions about cops which we don't hear so much about as we did 3 months ago, but just the state of the country. What's your assessment?
I think we're in the process of remaking ourselves. And I think that ultimately it can be a good process. I don't believe that we're just going full on Marxist or, like some people are complaining. I think a lot of what's happening is good. Um, and that people will be surprised to hear that because most folks think America's just falling apart, going to hell. I don't believe that. I think good things are happening. I'm saddened. Again, I've got many African Americans in my family, and I attend almost entirely African American church in D.C. I'm the one of the few white guys that are I'm at like 2% on staff, and they call me the white spot. The kids call me the great white father. And I look at the killings of this last summer of African Americans, largely by police, and I'm grieved. But I see good things happening. I'm not sorry for the good that's coming from it. I can endorse the Black Lives Matter sentiment without endorsing the Black Lives Matter organization, which I think is fairly atrocious. So overall, I think we're heading in the right direction. It's about change is finally underway on some important fronts. The issue is how it's going to be managed.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that change, I'll have to say, even though I did not vote for Joe Biden, will be better managed by somebody who's steady like him rather than Trump,
Mm-hmm.
who sees every problem as something that a sledgehammer ought to address.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be some things that will be better off. But overall, I'd have to say we've got a chance to do some right things here. Not that Trump did only bad things, but he couldn't have done the delicate work that needs to be done now.
Mm-hmm. Do you think but Biden can't make news become trustworthy once again? Of course, that's a different thing. But it feels to me like the news has lost some of their trustworthiness.
No question.
What's the path forward there?
Well, see, again, let me just say real quickly, our founding fathers intended for us to be in tension with each other. They intended for us not to trust each other. They were for the most part Christian people, and they were for the most part believers in the fall of man. And so what they were afraid of is the smoke-filled room and a bunch of us sitting around together getting along really great. So what they wanted was division of separation of powers. What they wanted was the veto. What they wanted was the ability to have a government shutdown if we couldn't agree about budget. So I believe with all my heart that the press is about to come in for a spanking, and they need to. And the things that happen throw kerosene on fires that are already burning, and the tension's good.
Mm-hmm.
The press knows they screwed up. Pollsters, one of the lead pollsters in this country is a guy named Frank Luntz. He said, if Trump loses, our profession is in trouble. Well, we have known for decades that the polls are wrong, and they're actually defining attitudes towards American public policy.
Yes.
Right? Well, now that's come to the fore. Now people are realizing that there's mathematical problems with polls. Now they're realizing what's going wrong. And the press is going through a serious soul searching because none of them had it right. None of them had it right. Even in the way that the election was called. I mean, I'm saying on the one hand, I don't think there's the kind of corruption that's going to change who's heading for office, but I do believe there was corruption, and I do believe that the press contributed to it, inadvertently at least, if by calling these elections way before they should have, even though they were more cautious this time than they were in Bush-Gore. So all of that to say, I think the press is about to come in for a well-deserved spanking, and it's coming about because of the cultural forces that are exposing what's wrong. What am I saying? The system is working. The process is working. The way you bring change in America is working. So I'm actually glad, and I'm on some of those shows, and I say, hey, you guys are gonna have to change it, man, because you're about to sink. You're about to sink. It should be very telling that Sean Hannity has the highest rated cable news show, just kicks CBS, ABC, NBC, everybody to the curb. Why is that? Why were in this last year and the year before the top cable news shows in America, the top 7 of them conservative? See, the somebody's out of step with what's going on in the country, and that's becoming obvious now.
Yes.
And so even MSNBC, which has been a little further left than everybody else, is starting to have conservative commentators, is starting to mix up the dialogue a little bit. I'm scheduled on there before too long, and I'm known as a conservative evangelical who hasn't had a brain bypass, thank God. And so things are changing. I'm not telling you we're about to step into, paradise.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you there's a chance here to fix what's broke. But part of this, I have to say, and here's where I get a little preachy, part of this is that Americans have got to stop being lazy. Most people would like for Uncle, Walter Cronkite to get on the air every night and for 30 minutes tell us what we're supposed to believe.
Yeah.
It ain't going to be that way ever again. So we're going to have to listen to the slant. Okay, Trump did something, but here's this guy's slant. Let me cut away the slant and go back to the facts and see how I feel about that. We're going to have to do more intellectual work.
Mhm.
We're going to have to use apps that are news aggregators rather than just putting a straw hose into MSNBC or Fox
Right.
and sucking the latest Kool-Aid right out of it.
Yep.
What is being said? What's France saying about what just happened? What's Britain saying? What does BBC have to say? What about some alt, news source, left or right? Let me just, what does the gay publication in my town have to say? I read that stuff all the time,
Mhm.
not because I believe it, but because I want a fresh perspective.
Yes.
So I cut away the philosophy and I look at the facts. And I hope I get pretty close to it. In other words, we're going to have to do a little bit more homework, work a little harder for it.
Yes.